It's not great. No, I mean it's always better, I think, to start with. I mean, obviously with the 4 games in the day for the finals, it's a bit weird. But I always like getting the milli circle out of the way first. Just because, I mean, you're absolutely right. There is that kind of chaos factor, and although that was a fairly placid milli game, if anything, especially through circles 1 and 2, there wasn't really any huge movements. A couple of people falling in rotation, but we didn't. I mean, the first team out was Zenith, right? And that was a circle 2 was closing in, so it was a very slow starter this time around. I mean, there's going to be a lot of teams that aren't going to be able to get to their drop spots. It is a very, very far south plane from east to west. We'll get a chance to take a look at it in just a second, but that could also create the same effect, Matt. Obviously, when people are kind of thrown a curveball, they can't get to, familiar ground. That's when we see teams, crossing paths when they wouldn't usually expect to, having to make a dicey rotation sometimes to even get to a loot spot. And the other thing is, you got to expect that this is going to be more than likely a southern circle again. Maybe not a military base, but I mean the furthest north we're going to see it is the edge kind of across maybe the tip of Rosok or up to South George.
We're in an area where we're looking at what military, maybe Gatka fields are kind of the directions that we're looking at for circles. So it's going to be a little bit hazardous depending, no matter which way that it moves forward here. And just like you were talking about, you can see a couple of shifts now coming into play, a couple of teams now leaning back over towards military base. Shoot to Kill still doing their stretch over towards Georgia Pool. If there's one thing we know about them, they are committed to living that lifestyle. But I think the story is just going to happen based off of where this first circle is going to go. I mean, we've had first military base circle, but have you had second military base circle is the question. Looks like we might be getting a little bit of it, as Western Bridge is going to be the major feature at the center.
It is, and this is, again, in terms of land mass, you've got to say it favors the north, but how many times have we talked about even 50-50s coming back south? So this does depend heavily on the circle 2, more so than the 3 to 4 water shift. This depends more so on circle 2 here. So it's going to be interesting to see how many teams we see commit down to Sosnovka, because I think, was it last week we did see one bounce back to the north, a 50-50 on Sosnovka? I'm pretty sure we had a military last week where we saw one bounce back, but again, this is sometimes a gamble. This is one of those circles that you could say you can't center up. It would be stupid to center up on this one and bank on that positioning, unless you're expecting to play an edge inside circle 4 or 5. But at this point, you've got to bet one side of the water.
And that becomes the big factor. Suddenly, everybody is pretty stressed out about what they're looking at. Even if you're inside the circle, you're like, well, do we want to stay here? If you're on military base circle, like let's say you're Fabled, or let's say you're Comets, which we saw kind of hanging around over that next to that Western Bridge that we saw last round, kind of in a similar position again. You just never feel like your positioning is good in a circle like this because you don't know what's coming next. And it leads into, like you were talking about, Ibok, it's just kind of a gamble. You take your 50-50, you take your coin flip, and you pray that you get the positioning that you really hope that you're going to end up with.
Well, I mean, the one thing we always talk about is that the military circles rely on getting there early, or at least having some options to kind of reposition off that circle too. Because even if this was just a bread and butter Sosnovka circle, you'd still want to be there early, because obviously the west and the east becomes the variable there. It's actually north and south, right? You either have to have a boat, you need to swim, or you need to cross that bridge. And one thing you don't want to be doing is leaving that too late and having to then fight off, not in terms of actually, taking a team fight, but, battling in rotation. You don't want to rotate into a congested area. Obviously, the bridge is a massive bottleneck, and there's always going to be one team that just says, we don't want to drive. We're going to sit here and see what we can get.
Yeah, losing vehicles, having tires popped out, that can be extremely detrimental in a circle like this, because whenever let's say you commit towards the north and then it ends up going south, suddenly you find yourself having to hoof it all the way over there and last one in a military base, just like you were talking about. You don't want to be the last team in a military base because there's nothing left, and you're just going to have to run and gun your whole way through it. To be said, with as much as we see that's still happening on the main island itself, we could see a similar factor when those teams that are trying to shift back over towards that. Almost like an inverse military base circle for the 3 teams that we see presently playing inside that position. Meanwhile, if you're like Illusion right now, you just get to comfortably kind of loot around the quarry position, playing back over towards the west. You know the fact that the fields around you are kind of like a little bit of a buffer zone. Not too many people are really going to be trying to contest for your location. More of them are going to be opting more towards like Comet's position or maybe back over towards Fairy Pier. You know, something that's kind of like a neutralized gamble depending on whichever way it goes. We all know that it's going to shift away from the water at some point, but making an early gamble towards something that's kind of close to the water, but also central, might mean that you don't have to move as far. So it's one of the few times we actually see a center position, or I guess a water position, be a little bit larger of a, I guess, a desire for teams, as it looks like Gas Can's just going to roll right up on top of Greg's shot. That's going to be a quick down and flush, and like I said, he's got to figure out what he's going to do, but again, nice positioning coming out of the Gas Cans and early game fights. I love the way that they're just, this is kind of making their own meta, and the way that they're trying to find their own way to win this whole thing.
Yeah, and it's obviously been a conscious decision. We heard obviously in I think it was Honey Badger's interview. I'm pretty sure it was what he said. Obviously, they were looking to spice things up early game. They saw that as the biggest opportunity in this lobby. It's not necessarily, you know, teams being sloppy, but maybe some early game complacency from other teams. And it's been interesting to see them run a couple of different setups and a couple of different approaches to finding those early game kill points. We're actually going to see Honey Badger, Nikos, and Voxic all pull up onto Glasshouse here. Rip's actually going to get contact at the front door. He's going to slip away up the stairs, take a lot of damage, though.
This is, again, that early game aggression coming up from Gas Cans. They just had a good awareness on what was going on around them. Know that they already got the numbers advantage. Exeti's on the other side of it. Hell is going for a little bit of a peek. Might be able to spot Nikos out, but it feels like he might have an idea on what's going on. Nice little peek up on there. Neither one gets a lot of damage, but quick spray back and forth between them. Hell is going to go ahead and get the down onto Nikos. Going to buy a little bit more space. Remember, Exeti's holding that other angle back behind, providing a little bit of cover. Whips up on top, but doesn't have a real angle to work with. Good shot's going to come out from Oldless on the other side, and now it's just going to be Rip and Hella trying to figure out how they're going to handle what's going on. Grenade's going to land, not do enough damage off to the side, but Honey Badger comes up big, drops down Hella, and now it's just Rip up on top of everything. He could potentially look down, get a spray back over towards it, but again, it's Honey Badger holding back position. Goes for the spray onto it. Good connection, at least going to try to get the Molotov in there. Did it make it through the window? Can't quite tell. It does look like it did. So might be able to get it down off of, or a flush off of that and pick up a point. But Rip now has given away his position, and numbers advantage is about to start coming up that stairwell. He's going to have to be very careful in how he plays this. As you can see, Throwable starting to rain down up on top of him. Molotov going to buy out a little bit more space on top of this. I like this positioning coming up from Rip, but he just doesn't have much cover to come with. First one's going to step up, gets a little bit of a spray. Bullets aren't going to be enough, though, and there you go. Gas Cans eliminates Fabled. First team down.
Yeah, just, I mean, textbook stuff. It's good to see a team say they're going to consciously try and do something, and time again, they're finding success doing it. It's a big switch up, to be honest with you, because, you know, previous iterations of that roster, if we look as far back as 303, they've tried similar things. You know, previously PCS2, we saw them going for early 2-2 splits and getting aggressive in terms of positioning, but, you know, they were just getting pulled up on and falling apart. So it's been fantastic to see them bring that to PCS3. It's working really well for them.
Both making a little bit of a reposition now back past Zenith. They're going to go ahead and edge their way right back over here towards the northeastern section of the map. Pretty open right now, as kind of what we were alluding to earlier. On the map, it's kind of coastal territory is what everybody is at. Almost all the teams just kind of lined up along the canal, different points, really kind of dips, buildings, anything that's kind of close to position. So a lot of our teams kind of opting more into that strategy, being capable of moving depending on either way that the circle goes, kind of hedging their bets, alluding to what we were talking about beforehand. But it's kind of like had this little bit of a quiet settle down. No teams are really in directed contestation points. Everybody's just kind of waiting for the next 27 seconds. And you can see a lot of these teams kind of prepping for a potential movement that they know that they might have to make.
There's still, I mean, a lot of teams are banking on North here. It's only really Gas Cans and Rumblers that are down. Duel have got a good position just to the south of Zenith here, actually, onto the eastern bridge. So they've got really, really good opportunity to fast rotate across. But you can see the way this lies right now with how many teams are banking on the northern side. And it's going to pull as far as it possibly could.
What is this, Hypox?
As far as it could. There's one team in Circle 2.
Gas Cans, that early aggression pays off, but they don't want that location because, let's be real, this is still 3/4 water, really, if you're looking at it. I mean, there's that hill that's just going to be west of military base,
Oh my
but
God.
that's about it. There's not enough space for 59 people in a circle like this, Hypoc, and it's going to be a race to get to position. You can see comments where it's like, we don't care who's coming behind us, run over, Rumblers making their way back over there as well. Duel, Zenith, Oath, all making a position back over towards this eastern bridge. You can see it's going to be Kickstart just trying to pepper in a couple of shots based off of it. Oath's going to be coming back over towards the eastern point. People in boats already. It's just complete damage control from every team right now.
There is barely 2 kilometers of terrain in this circle, Matt. I'm looking at it now. There's barely 2 kilometers of actual land in this circle. Right, this is Duel and Rumblers over on the east side. Again, I did say Duel going to have a good opportunity to get across. Rumblers are one of the teams that are already south of the bridge, so already see them getting into it here. Comets elsewhere. They're running to the gas cans. They tried to send it immediately across West Bridge, and gas cans making a fast rotation up to the high ground. Let's put them in a position to stop this, but now, I mean, Comets are just going to bounce back and forth between a couple of teams because Hardshifts have found Landfall over here. They're going to come up and contest onto the barn. Actually, yeah, Yaxley not going to get any damage through on the doorway there. Maluk finds him on an off angle on the side, but lots of teams just making a mad dash for this right now, Matcham, understandably.
Yeah, I mean, this early fight coming out from them, going to go ahead and shift out Comets. They're going to have to run up the hillside. Just Monty and Leda now left. Luckily, there's nobody back over towards the position. If they can get out of range of Hardshifts, use a little bit of that hillside, they're going to be able to get that out. There's also an odd setup that's happening back over towards Primora Square. It looks like Illusion and T8 might be bumping into each other. You can see the Oath, Zenith now fighting back over. The bridge over towards the east is a mess right now. We have Oath, T8, Zenith, all fighting outside the blue. Poonage is trying to run right now. He's got Nero on no life. He's outside the blue. He might just go down to it, just trying to get his meds up. Nope, he's going to go down off of that one. I mean, we got one eye open that's back behind Oath right now, just kind of surveying what's going on. And ATC looks like they might be coming along a similar path.
This is interesting. Kickstart's knocked on the north side of the eastern bridge. He's relaying the information that nobody's followed. So Roth actually going to come back across and get this res because Poonage is relatively safe. With Oath tied up with one eye open, nobody's really going to come across and pressure this. But back over to the west bridge, and SDK did run into Veritas. It's Keenan. I don't know why I said it like that. Keenan actually going to fall on the north side of the bridge. I might start calling him Keenan from now on, Matt. I'm hoping you'll follow suit. But
Keenan finding himself in a little bit of trouble right now. Looks like Luke's just going to go ahead and flush him out. Oath still caught up on the bridge, though, so it looks like Zenith's trying to get away from this. We still have a ton of teams in the blue. 26 seconds before it condenses down. Don't forget that shoot to kill based off positioning a second ago. We're outside in the blue. I mean, it's... I know, guys, there's just stuff happening everywhere because there's nowhere for these guys to go. Everybody is kind of stalled out at every single firefight that's happening in front of them. It's a mess in what's going on. But I mean, whenever you're signing up to play in Battle Royales, whenever you're signing to play PUBG and eSport, this can sometimes happen. And now it's just a matter of, okay, what strategy do you have for a situation like this?
Do you know, I was going to say, thank God that Phase 3 is posted there, because what I was about to say is obviously the next circle could include as much water as it wants. Even if that went central, it was going to create even less space for teams to come in on. So thankful for that circle 3 shift, but I mean, there's still not. You already said there wasn't enough space for 59. Now there's even less, and we've got 5 teams outside of this already. So lots of teams still need to make their move. And Rumbler's actually now pulling up onto Duel here. You can see McCoy upstairs in the 2-story balk. He's going to try and get some damage. That actually takes a lot of damage from Wooly through the window there. You see STK lighting up the kill feed elsewhere, but staying on board right now. Duel and Rumblers fighting over a pretty good compound down to the south, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you look at compounds, there's not a lot that are in play at this point. Lowe's kind of playing the point man way back in the back to provide a little bit of cover fire for his teammates. Got to be careful, though. There are a couple of stragglers that could be coming from that eastern bridge that could be rolling up back behind them. Slow and steady is the Rumblers' approach right now. It's a pretty good grenade toss. Almost managed to make it inside that window, but harassing just as they can. Waldo not quite finding the angle just yet. Pinta playing a little bit closer towards Rumbler's position, and look, just a quick flood of players running right back into position. Linksy gets a quick peek from that other angle, and a flush as well. Gaxi has to kind of pump the brakes onto this. He'll back up. Veritas goes down in a different position inside the map right now, but here comes the push now starting to come out from Rumblers, trying to get a little bit more control over territory. Los, here's kind of what's going on back behind them, and doesn't have the capabilities to run in directly. He has to play this one a little bit slower. So with this, Lynxy still has control over that one building right next to him. And so Rumblers do manage to have a foothold in one building in this complex, but Duel's holding down all the other ones, and it's just going to be a little bit more hazardous every single time Rumblers tries to stretch out and get more control.
That's actually a knock on to Monharty from the bridge. SDK still on the north side of it. Patron now actually taking too much damage. He's actually going to fall. There'll be one eye open down in 14th. SDK now have a big problem ahead of them because I think they've given their position away. The kill feed knowledge is going to go over to Sonics. You can already see Shrimsy holding a pretty good angle on the bridge. You got Tiggleton and H-Win up to the high ground. I mean, SDK doing the same playing style we talked about previously. They're just looking for kills. They know that they're not going to be able to get into a decent position. Circle-wise, already got 6 kills here again, even though it's not what they need. This is good salvage from them.
Yeah, I mean, this is just complete and utter damage control. They've got Sonics that have got a firing lane back over towards them. They might be able to get a little bit of distance if they can make it back around this hillside. Instead, actually opting to lean back over into where the fire is coming from. Sonic split right now, doing a lot of damage back over towards Shoot to Kill's positioning, trying to seat swap around. Good connection from Shrims. He's going to go ahead and drop out Civ. New circle does pop pretty centered. Zenith going to go ahead and have good positioning onto this. You can see Shoot to Kill still just doing a lot of damage control based off of positioning. There's no real way to carve a path into this because Dodge is already playing back on the other angle. With the split that we see Sonics have, right now there's nowhere else to go. So Luke says, hey, the blue was tasty before. Let's go ahead and nom on it for a little while longer. Runs back over towards the east to just try to get some form of separation from what's happening in every section of this map.
This is good as well. I think Kurt's actually consciously stayed here to kill Norcus because they ran into ATC early on. Here you go. God. It's going to come straight towards him. Norcus actually, okay, Kurt, thank you. I was going to say, you got to land one of those shots, dude.
It almost feels like this is becoming its own rivalry. We see like Shoot to Kill and ATC.
Yeah, again.
Always fighting, man. I don't know what happened. I don't know if something happened in scrims and they're just mad at each other, but it's just, they tend to rotate so similarly. And from a similar starting point, they're always just kind of scrapping at every single step along the way. So with this, you can see that everything's, again, kind of calmed down for a second. Everybody catching their breath, trying to figure out how they're going to approach this is even less territory in play. And so those that were kind of hugging towards the edges, kind of chilling out next to the water, now going to have to make their path inside the safe zone.
Yeah, Shrimsy actually pulling away from that position over on the north side. Again, they're gonna have the knowledge. Kurt's still on the bridge. They're gonna see it in the kill feed. They know exactly where those shots have come from. They're in audible range. So fully expecting Kurt to maybe get. I mean, if he dips off, he might actually be able to regroup with Luke here. But we're coming in pretty tagged up from the blue. Meanwhile, Illusion, they were the last team to come all the way across from Primorsk. I haven't found a way up just yet.
Well, I think that they might be able to get in the safe zone here. Like, sure, they're not going to be able to move from here into the safe zone afterwards, but they might be able to buy some time.
I'm pretty sure there's only... whether or not it's changed in Erangel 2.0, I'm going to be honest, I have not explored the mountain goat theory over on the edge of Sosnovka, but I'm pretty sure there's only 3 places you can climb up there. And that's not one of them.
Yeah, I think that they're just trying to get inside to see if maybe they can just like maybe hang out in the safe zone for a bit and know the fact that they're kind of just, for lack of a better term, screwed after that. Shoot to Kill still kind of limping around right now as we've got Luke 12, the last one up. But let's be honest, that's a strong last one to have. So Luke does manage to find himself a spot back over towards the east, which is pretty calm right now. Do note back over towards the south of his position, we see Oath running a kind of a 2-1-1, but really it's a 2-2 split based off of position. And look at Light Show finding his way to mount and go up that side right there. So it looks like he might find himself a way to make some type of approach. Well, he had it for a second. But Icyflex and the rest of the crew do manage to find themselves a path onto the other side. So look at that. We learned something new today, Hypoc.
Yeah, I stand corrected.
To be fair, I didn't know that there was a path there either.
I really didn't. Again, it's been a long time since I've had to rotate to a millicircle, Matt. So they're proving me wrong. But I mean, they're now faced with the next task, which is closing down this open distance between them and the compound. I mean, the one benefit is that actually Wimu and Zelot have actually moved up north all the way to the other side of the road, actually. So leaving Steezy and Lush down here to kind of hold on to the compound for the time being. Zelot and Wimu looking for some ground into the circle. Actually, Vox are going to find Zelot. And that could be, I mean, a little bit of a miscalculation to be honest with you. Again, circle bouncing back towards them. You can't bank on that, but they have a really good opportunity to clear a lot of this space that's south side of the road.
This is
and what's even
problematic
worse is, Steezy is going to fall in the compound. So yeah, a little bit of a misplay there from Tactical 8, but again, it's very good calling it from this position where I can see the map. So it's a little biased on the information.
Well, speaking of that, we can see that there's a lot of problems for a lot of teams right now. So we have Duel that's no longer inside the safe zone. Rumblers, the last member for Shoot to Kill. We've got Dodge, Sonic's back over towards the north. And Illusion, who managed to get that nice shot just a second ago and now trying to capitalize on it. Thinking maybe they can take over this compound that we can see that T8's playing from. A couple of shots do connect back over towards them. You know, the fact that they do have some company based off of this. Those shots from gas cans, I feel like, made this even more problematic for T8 because it looked like they were starting to stretch out, see if maybe they can move closer towards the center and maybe could move away from Illusion's positioning. But losing that member early means the fact that they stopped, and now they're having to contest in a very disadvantaged fight. They've only got 2 members up at the time. It's a little bit problematic. Rumblers do go down as well, often towards the southeast of this position. Sonics is still trying to carve themselves a path into the safe zone. Still have to contend with Dodge that's playing back along the hill towards the south and to the east of them. Adam going ahead and sneaking around. Looks like he might be trying to find a little bit of a flank there. Getting a couple of shots back over towards H-Win. Going to drop him as well. This is a little bit problematic because even if Sonics can manage to get some separation away from Dodge on this point, they're still going to have to contest with the Hardshifts who have an entirely different firing line directly towards their south. So Sonics now playing in a very dangerous point. Look like they're just going to go ahead and try to opt into sync if maybe they can send it in, maybe use vehicles to create some type of cover based off of position. But right as soon as they crest this hillside, Hardshifts are going to have a firing line for them. Question is Hardshifts watching it close enough? And it looks like maybe not. But then again, Sonic's now starting to look back over towards Dodge's position. They're just kind of dancing around between a lot of very dangerous points.
Yeah, Atron actually, I guess, assumed there was an extra vehicle on the edge there, but he's going to fall to Dodge. Sonics do find a way onto the hillside. You can already see the nades coming down from the hilltop. We did see SDK actually fall on the kill feed elsewhere. Luke 12 obviously getting picked up, but Sonics keep 3 alive for the time being. They're actually in a pretty tough spot here. Gas cans have a little bit of vision onto their position. You can see on the minimap, Hardshifts have stacked up onto the north side of the hill to try and stop them advancing up any further. But I think if they run uphill here, Gascan's going to have even better vision on them.
Well, circle does shift back over towards the southeast from that point, favoring Oath's placement right now, as well as Duels. Hardshifts still have their high ground advantage, but a lot of people trying to cross through. You can see the remnants of Zenith trying to roll back over. They did distract Dodge for just a second whenever we saw that Sonics fight breaking out just a minute ago. So that's how come Sonics had a little bit of an easier pass coming forward. But still, it's going to continue to be a literal uphill battle for them if they try to make this approach. Dodge is starting to flank around the hillside and can come back over towards him at any given second. Tickleton gets dropped real low, but does manage to find himself a touch of cover to play from. Dodge now starting to separate out, seeing if maybe they can get some type of play, but gas cans back to the south of their position, now also starting to encroach in, looking like they might be trying to contest back over towards Hardshifts. This could be very quickly turn into a 4-way fight, as Lamplot is going to connect, get Tickleton down. Quick flush coming out on that as well. Shrimsy has to drop back down very low on life. Mime in some trouble. You can see not a lot of armor, not a lot of helmets on this team right now, and they are playing from a very dangerous spot. 2 different teams harassing from 2 different angles, and every single time one of them gets a knock, they just keep encroaching a little bit further. You can see Lampalot playing up along that hillside. It's going to be Nikos that's moving in, and finally, Sonics gets put out of their misery as there was nowhere for them to go. Looks like Gas Cans and Dodge might step away from the fight as Hardshifts are going to look back down towards them. Oath, meanwhile, repositioning much closer towards center, going to try to contest back over towards Zenith's point, and Illusion looking back over towards Duel.
Yeah, Illusion. Let's see. I was going to say, Show looking all the way up here. He needs to worry about this close angle here. Wooly's actually going to find him with the barrel and fully expecting the utility to follow this up here if Duel have anything left, but doesn't look like that's going to be the case for the time being. Penta and Wooly just trying to hold on to the burning UAS. Wooly actually making a push into this smoke here. This is ballsy. Show hears it, and Wooly walks out the other side. He finds him again. Show actually didn't heal off of that, but Top Dog finds both kills onto Duel, and they will fall in 6th place. So interesting. Can you call that a team fight? That was a little weird.
I like the mindset behind it. Duel knew the fact that there was no way for them to move forward. Oath had already contained them based off of point. Illusion back behind them. They knew that they were outnumbered. So instead, just try to make a play off of it, and it almost worked there. I mean, The plan was good. The execution, sometimes it's just too many people that are watching the angle back over for it. So I like the idea behind it, to say nothing else of what happened inside that one. Gas Can's now playing back over, still around Hardship's positioning. Dodge creeping along the other side of this hill. And really, that's kind of the setup right now. We've got Hardships that are at the top of the hill. Dodge and Gas Can still playing around it. And Oath just smack dab in the middle of the circle. So Gas Can starting to make their encroachment up. Going to spot out one. Good spray going to come down, but it's going to be a quickly exchange back on the other side. Oldless tries to walk up into the firing line, and J-Sank is just holding the line for his team. Gas Cans gets eliminated. Ton of kills sitting on right now, but that's going to go ahead and send them back to the lobby. Dodge looks like they were trying to creep up back behind this, but it's going to be Oath that's going to rain in a little bit of damage and kind of stop them. New circle has popped, and you can see it's going to be Oath and Illusion that are going to be inside the circle. So Dodge and Hardship's going to have to make their way down the hill.
And Dodge actually, again, kind of capitalizing on the fact that Gas Cans were going to be forced into a closer position to Hardships, but now they're left way out in the open to Oath. You can see how they've stacked up here. Reload kind of playing solo up just a little further west of his teammates, but really good sightlines for Oath here. Again, good opportunity for them to go back to back in the spot that they found. I mean, they should be able to clear pretty much everybody on the north side here. Snake is going to find Danny to open this up. J-Sank actually getting a pick onto Illusion is going to mean Hardships are going to favor going that direction as opposed to towards Oath.
Yeah, I mean, Oath just has a little bit of a ridge that they can play, so they're fairly comfortable based off of that. You can see they're going to go ahead and herd Dodge back up that hillside. Going to go ahead and have another member of Dodge go down. Lampalot's following right back behind the trail of Hardships as they're kind of shifting back along on that angle. J-Sank under a little bit of fire right now, but still just trying to make his way forward. Relo also going for a very aggressive reposition back over towards it. Good shot's going to come out for Lampalot. Go ahead and take down, you can see J-Sank there, but leaving a Luke all by his lonesome. Illusion's now getting a little bit of a firing line back up that hillside, going to go ahead and connect onto it. So it's very quickly looking like it's a lineup where we can see Oath that's going to hold back over towards the northeast, and it's going to be Illusion back down towards the southwest with a solo Maluk just hanging out in the middle, just kind of chilling inside the smoke and hoping the fact that he's got enough to last out what's coming.
Woe doesn't have any kits. I'm hoping one of his teammates is going to bail him out there, although they were in the blue a while. Maluk actually going to pop out from his position, did have to relocate a little bit, and he does fall, but Oath definitely... I mean, more control here in terms of space itself. Lightshow actually, how has Lightshow managed to cross the road?
He almost
There
did,
we go. Yeah. Okay.
I was going to say the same thing.
Really well timed by him, but it's unfortunate he gets spotted at the last second. Circle does favor Oath again here, so just their ability to spread here is going to be the key factor. And again, I guess you could say Illusion's med situation not helping probably.
Yeah, Snaker's going to head and repositioning pretty close back down towards the south, actually leaving the safe zone to deny a new angle of approach. Illusion, the only team that's going to have to move. Oath is in a comfortable spot right now. They've got so many defendable points, and it's really just a tree line for defense coming up from Illusion. I saw the fact that they had a vehicle, but let's be honest, this close range, that's essentially a death trap, but there's not a lot of good options. You can see the terrain in front of Illusion right now. It's just wide out and in the open. It's just using tree lines to try to deny vision. Maybe Illusion can get a knock based off of the split that we can kind of see that Oath is holding down. That might provide them a touch of an opportunity, but you can see that's why they're kind of focusing back up towards Relo's position. They think maybe if they get a knock on there, that might be the angle that they can push from. But as more and more of them focus back up towards Relo, you can see Snakers keeps kind of leaning back over towards that angle, creeping up just a little bit more, seeing if maybe he can find some way to make this work out for him. You got to give it to Illusion, though. They're doing a great job of dodging all of these bullets that are raining back down towards them. The problem is now it's time to go. They've got the blue right at their back. They're seriously just having to fight against the wall itself right now. And Snakers is moving more and more aggressive. There goes the grenade. No. The blue's going to go ahead and drop two of them. It's just Icy Flex, and he says, nah, I'm just going to feed this one over. I'm not going to give it to Oath, and that's going to